All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Bro Weekly. Got a lot of news to talk about in the world of Robinhood, which is what we're going to be starting off with. And then I think we have some other topics towards the end of the show that we'll get into as well. But yeah, we got some big Robinhood news today, and we'll get into it. Tanner, Roy, how are you?
Good. Always an interesting time in the markets, especially starting off this week. So we don't need earnings to keep us entertained.
I'm wearing the wrong hat, I think. There we go.
You go.
Dude, I need to get me a market cap. I don't have one of those yet. I got to get it.
I want the green one. They got a new one. But yeah, you guys surprised that we didn't make it onto the S&P 500, replacing one financial services business for another?
I mean, so this was not a normal. If you guys aren't aware, Coinbase got in. This is not a normal addition. That's going to happen in a month. In essence, Discover Financial, it was acquired by Capital One, so the original fintech. And as a result, because that's supposed to be finalized on the 18th, I believe, they said, hey, we need somebody else in here. Otherwise, they're not in the S&P 500. They're the S&P 499. So not really. But what's very interesting to me, so not so much that maybe we can't talk about like why they chose Coinbase over Robinhood. We can speculate. That's fine. But what's really interesting to me is it's a pure crypto play. And they said, yes, we want a piece of that. So that's that was my only concern with Coinbase. I wouldn't have said that they were my top pick going in, but I think that presages some good things for Robinhood going in soon.
Sure. Yeah. I just thought they would have went with a diversified play before they went in with the full pure play. But no, which I actually think is better, to be honest. Like for the S&P, I think that for the index, this adds some more crypto exposure. But yeah, personally, I mean, I literally just spoke about this. I'm a big believer in Hood over Coin right now.
Oh, yeah, same. Yeah, do you think if crypto hadn't been rallying, and I know we will talk about the market rally and everything, do you think that they would have gotten in? Like if it had just continued to trade in the 70s?
No, if Bitcoin was at 50 or 60, I don't think they would have gotten.
You really think so?
Dude, there is a group of Illuminati that runs the S&P 500. This is not some organized infrastructure of people that look at price to sales and company trajectories. Like any group that picks Williams-Sonoma over Robinhood to me has also,
like, I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad. I actually looked up.
But seriously, can anyone name me one public figure that is on this committee that has it's like the Grammys, right? No one knows who votes for album of the year. For some reason, the person who's never supposed to win album of the year wins album of the year.
Probably the CEO of Williams-Sonoma is on it, I'm guessing.
Well, you know what? I think there's probably reasons to say that Williams-Sonoma should not have been on there before. You know, that's the espresso company, right? The Juro, is that the one?
Yeah, and then there was another energy company that's 20 billion market cap. Out of all the oil and gas companies, why did they make the S&P last time?
Yeah, that part I'm not 100% certain on, but there is a reason to say Williams-Sonoma over Robinhood, for example, for the diversification.
Yeah.
Not maybe other companies in their sector, but yeah.
And I understand that. Like that's the one thing where I'm not sure if Robinhood gets in like in the next quarter or two, simply because if they think that they have too many financial services companies in there, and here we saw Discover leave and then another of in the same category loosely, get in, that may be a factor why Robinhood isn't included. But I don't think that they're scared by crypto, obviously, because they're accepting Coinbase. But yeah, the Williams-Sonoma thing, like I get the diversification, but surely there had to be better companies because when they announce this next quarter, they won't remove Williams-Sonoma if it doesn't meet the market cap. But there for a little while, it was trading. It was just barely over the market cap requirements. EXC, by the way, same thing. And TKO, I think, narrowly made it. I'm not sure if it was market cap or profitability. It was one of those. TKO deserves it, frankly. And it's an interesting stock. They want diversification. That one made sense to me. But yeah, Williams-Sonoma was declining in revenue, declining in profitability, lumpy, inconsistent. Like you can just see that might have been the last quarter where it was actually eligible for that 20.5 billion market cap. We'll see what happens over the next month or so. But I was like, man, that just seems bogus to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, my thoughts on this. I respect Coinbase a lot. Brian Armstrong is amazing. They deserve to get in. It's just, again, confusing why Hood didn't get in. But I think they will get in this year. And if they don't get in this year, then, I feel like the committee is just, I don't know what's going on with the committee. Maybe there's too many finance names and that could stop them. Like that could be an issue. But in general, at this point, it's just, it's going to be a bit ridiculous if we get a lot of other companies over Robinhood.
Yeah, I mean the trade desk is up there too. It has been for a while, and they the stock's rebounding, so at least they'll make it with the market cap requirement. Good job, Tanner.
but to your original point, it's like if Coinbase was $50 right now,
yeah,
or 150, and Bitcoin was at $40K. I mean, I don't know if the market would want, if the S&P committee would want that type of volatility introduced into the index.
Yeah, but the volatility is going to exist. Like there's nothing stopping it from going back down.
I agree. It's just kind of in the heat of the moment, Do you want to have the optics of it?
Yeah, and I think that they're fine with that. Where I'm thinking, and coming from as far as like if Bitcoin hadn't risen and that contributing to the stock price as well, and those estimates as far as what the revenue is going to look like. There's a lot of really good, compelling companies that are eligible for the S&P 500. And so if you have like 3 or 4 companies that are there neck and neck, that is probably not a main factor at all, but it has to be like one of those where it's like, if Bitcoin had not pumped like it did, maybe they would have taken the trade desk. Maybe they would have taken Robinhood. Maybe they would have taken something else. So,
yeah, the Robinhood disrespect though is crazy. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah. I mean, their next. I wonder if the crypto event was actually the first event that we got, like the gold event, if they had switched places, and the products that were put out for Robinhood had given them deeper ties to crypto. If that might have changed their mind or something, I can't imagine it would. But overall, the deeper ties for crypto for Robinhood is going to be a very exciting part and actually make crypto hopefully a really big asset class for them. Oh, yeah. It already is, but yeah.
And that could also be the thing too. We don't know how the S&P 500, like we don't know how it works other than their formal requirements. They have some informal that have been assumed, and one of those is diversification. Is the committee looking at Coinbase as just general financials, financial services, or do they have a new category now where they're like, crypto? And if so, then they're going to want more exposure to that, and then Robinhood's a shoo-in. I'm also wondering that with AI, like, does AI have its own category? Is that one of the factors that got Palantir back in when it went in, and it worked out pretty well for the S&P 500?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think also what's interesting is the committee's willingness to accept crypto, right? That opens the gate for MicroStrategy at one point to get in, right?
Well, they're not profitable though on an EPS.
Not yet. Yeah.
So I don't know that they ever are unless they loan against that.
Yeah, they missed by 14,000% against expectations. It was quite funny.
Which no one cares about EPS from us. I don't think it ever gets in unless they change the requirements for some reason, and I don't think that they should. But yeah, it's in a month. We'll be reviewing this again. S&P 500 inclusion. I usually do a preview. I actually, for a minute when I saw the news, I had forgotten that they got acquired, and I was like, "Oh man, it's already that time." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the acquisition."
Yeah. Did you see? Unless you guys want to drag this into other news, did you see what other company was entered into an index?
Actually, didn't. Oh, wait. Oh, Shopify got into the NASDAQ. Yeah.
Shopify got into the NASDAQ 100, ladies and gentlemen. If I had a cowbell, that's what I would be ringing right now. But it's a name in my portfolio. But
I was very close to buying the $87 dip last week. I just didn't pull the trigger. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's always going to be an expensive name, but it deserves it.
Yeah.
Well, was it like 6 or 9 months ago? It was actually not that expensive. Go to the 1-year chart there. I think if I'm not imagining things, maybe I am, but I was thinking it was like in the 60s.
Yeah, roundabout. But it was kind of, I was selling puts on it at the time. I remember it was still a little scary to own it, but in hindsight, obviously, it was a great buy.
Just like the whole market and macro too.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so let's get into the big story of the week, which we'll talk China, Trump, sort of what this means for the broader market. We're getting a market rebound, what that means for Hood. But I think this is the first thing we got to start off with. Crypto trading volumes, Bitcoin back above 100K, touched 105 yesterday. Roy, let's start off with you. Are we going to have a great Q2 for crypto revenues for Robinhood?
Well, we're already partway through the quarter, but yes, it's going to be better than we expected. Volumes are actually really, really good, and they continue to climb, especially here over the last week or so. If this rally continues, and a lot of people, myself included, until the market really started tanking, and Bitcoin did as well, I was like, it feels like we haven't hit the top yet on Bitcoin. It's not a normal cycle if it ended that way. Bitcoin can do anything, though. And I think that this may be confirmation of that. If it is, Bitcoin and eventually altcoins as well, they don't always run at the same time, will appreciate quite a bit. There will be a lot more volume, a lot more interest, a lot more speculation. And all of that is really bullish just for Robinhood. But we'll have to see. I think if we have another week or two of this stability and price appreciation as well, that's going to bring even more volume. We might actually see some of those peak numbers back in January.
Tanner, your thoughts on crypto volumes?
Yeah, I mean, it's the accumulation of all the days. It's not like if we end the quarter out at a high that means that it's been a great quarter. So overall, April was pretty dang bad. So hopefully we have a good quarter, but it'll probably still be a little shy of the good quarters of Q4 and Q1. Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. It's a good first sign, but it is also just a spike. And really what I want is a continued maintained high, like what we saw in the first part of that chart where you can see January.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that Roy, let me share yours.
Yeah. That way you can see the chart. Here's the year to date, so where we came from. And the fun thing is if you zoom all the way out, I mean, it's going to keep climbing, guys. Like there will be troughs during crypto winter, there will be peaks, but the trajectory is pretty clear. So yeah, over the last year, here were those very, very good days in the end of the year and actually the beginning as well. And all this contributed to a blowout quarter when they reported quarter four, and also very good crypto earnings in quarter one, even though it kind of tailed off. And there's that April month. So it's down to 2.5 trillion trading volume. This is not across Robinhood. It's across like the entire spectrum. But it kind of gives you a glimpse, an expectation of where they'd be.
Yeah, I mean, if we really think about this, I know a lot of people are hesitant on cryptocurrency. I think what you guys need to start looking at is not just the names of Bitcoin or Fartcoin or something like this, which mainly trade on speculation. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin is looked at a store of value, but the ones that I like the most are the ones that are real utility. So the ones that are enabling a potential, tokenized platform for equities. These are the ones that I think will do really well and that people will bet on going forward, like Solana. So in my opinion, as time goes on, like Roy said, the amount of transactions will continue to increase, especially even whenever Coinbase is getting on the S&P 500, like all those things, the ETFs of different crypto coins, all of those add to the validity of this new asset class. One that probably will come down in terms of the take rate on cryptocurrency, but right now it's still very high. Robinhood actually is leading the charge for being, the cheap names here, and also has the ability to expand out into 100 plus countries. Right now, Coinbase is in 100 plus countries, and a lot of people think of them as the name in cryptocurrency, but that might already be priced in. The companies that I think that a lot of people could benefit from owning into the future are the ones that have the ability to grow into those while still, being a cheap valuation. So still very, very bullish for not only cryptocurrency, but also Robinhood that are getting the take rates on all those changes.
Okay, so that transitions us into the breaking news of the week from Bloomberg, which we've talked about many times on the channel. But we finally got some real confirmation via the media in terms of their digging on this. But Robinhood is planning, as per Bloomberg, a blockchain to trade U.S. assets in Europe. Robinhood is developing a blockchain-based platform that will allow retail investors in Europe to trade U.S. securities such as stocks. The venture will likely be through a partnership with digital asset firm, according to the people. Either it's going to be on Arbitrum, a blockchain that is overlaid on Ethereum, or Solana, another popular blockchain. Tanner was just talking about that one that had been under consideration for the partnership. Bloomberg reached out to Robinhood's communication team and said, hey, you know anything about this? And they said, we plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Which to me makes me feel like something's happening. So, Roy, how big of a deal would this be? And do you think this actually happens this year?
The problem is Europe. They love to regulate things to death and hope that it goes away. So that might happen here with anything new and novel, where they're like, oh man, they're going to use crypto for that. Forget it. We're going to have to step in and stop this. So there's always a chance of that. You cannot. No offense to anybody that's living in Europe, but it's not you guys. It's the governments and the regulators. But like that's just kind of the way it is with AI, with crypto. With a lot of things. But I think barring that, yes, it gets done. Likely they're trying to set this up not to have it ready for launch for their crypto event, but kind of like what they did with their banking announcement, where they're like, hey, this is coming and it's coming soon. So get excited and we're going to launch it in the second half or something like that. And yeah, it's really incredible. It can lead to a lot of things too. Vlad's very long letter. I think it was to the New York Times or was it to Bloomberg or some major publication several months ago? He alluded to this. So it's right in their wheelhouse. It fits their ecosystem very well. It can also be something that leads to 24/7 trading as well, with the tokenization of those real world assets and also the securities there as well. So yeah, it's awesome.
Tanner, your thoughts?
I think if you were to look at the total roadmap, the things that Vlad would know that they're working on, the list would be very long. This is probably one of their more long shot ideas, if I were to guess. So, I mean, potentially, but it actually does seem pretty far-fetched. I don't know when we're going to see this. Maybe 2026. It could be earlier. Maybe this is one of their front-running ideas, and I don't know how they're going to get past regulation on this, but it does seem like something that would need a little bit more time to work on. Overall, I think it's an amazing idea. I think that's where the world's going. Yeah, I'm positive that this will come out eventually, but I'm sure there's a long list of things that they're actively working on.
So you see this as the level 1 options of Robinhood.
It's coming. We just don't know what year.
I think this is a big deal. I think it would be super important if we can get it done. Here's Vlad, who went on a crypto podcast last week, actually talking about this idea. And then I have some thoughts on what it could be for the business.
Meme coins, and this is a little bit of a generalization, but it's not far from the truth. In the US, everything but meme coins is either illegal or in like a very gray area, a shaky gray area. So that's why we need the security token legislation to come very soon.
You had a recent op-ed, actually, Vlad. You described a coming revolution in investing driven by tokenization and blockchain. You just mentioned after the crypto summit, you guys have been sort of known as promoting the tokenization side of crypto. What role do you see Robinhood playing in accelerating that shift? And like, how close are we to seeing tokenized equities or private markets opening every day to US investors? I know this is something that you've talked about previously. We're talking about 24/7 trading now, not just 24/5.
Yeah, I think there's for the tokenization of securities, this is something that lawmakers are getting behind, and the administration generally seems supportive of it. There's obviously going to be details, and there's a lot of stakeholders in the U.S., including the established financial services companies that might not be as big fans of the idea. But I think the people want it, and there's obvious long-term benefits. So the U.S. will get there. My hope is that we get legislation before August, and if that happens, that's great, and that's a big part of it. The second thing is accredited investor rules. So basically, accredited investor rules prevent retail from investing in public companies unless they meet certain income or net worth requirements, which effectively shut out 80% of the investing public. And these laws were created back when there was a real problem getting information about different assets and different companies. This was like pre-internet, so there wasn't a lot of information out there. The conditions under which those rules made sense no longer exist. You have lots of information out there. You have AI, and you also have things like meme coins, which we were discussing earlier, where, if you're a retail investor, you can access meme coins freely, and there's hundreds of thousands of them created every single week. So it makes even less sense in that context to have such restrictions on retail investors investing in private companies. So there is momentum behind that as well, and it's one of the things we're most interested in and working towards. And
so here's the question, I guess. If they can actually pull off the ability for someone to buy a tokenized version of SpaceX or a tokenized version of Apple on a blockchain, do you think it's a long shot, or do you think it's something they're going to make serious? BlackRock's working on this, JP Morgan's working on this, a lot of crypto startups are working on this. I have a friend who works at a crypto startup who was texting me the other day when he was watching this video, and he was like, dude, I'm trying to do exactly what Robinhood's doing. Like, feels like this is a really competitive space with a massive TAM. And the question is just, can Robinhood pull it off first?
Yeah, I mean,
Probably.
I don't know how it's going to work in terms of different companies competing, because like, how would that even work in terms of creating all their own markets? I mean, that's the interesting part that I find so funny. It's like, how are they all going to do those? Like, you'd need the volume for all the companies to compete. Like, we need like the New York Stock Exchange to do this in some sort of respect. No?
Do we?
Well, I mean, no, but then you're going to see liquidity problems like what you see in overnight markets. Like, you don't need the New York Stock Exchange, but it would be a lot better if all these companies came together to sort of create some sort of combined. I mean, that's the one thing that is sort of go with cryptocurrency is the interoperability between a lot of things. So maybe there will be some of that, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, I do think that the benefits of cryptocurrency allow for 24/7 markets, better security, better pricing, all these things. So overall, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, like, distribution is key here. So Robinhood has access to a lot of users, a lot of active users. They have the name recognition too. So, and they also have the engineering competency to be able to pull this off. The question mark is, I think it's more of a when, not if, and that does depend, like he alluded to regulation. I don't know that it's going to happen this year. There seem to be other matters. I know that they're moving forward on crypto fairly rapidly, but this could be a next year type thing. We'll have to see. But yeah, like the overnight markets, they work. More liquidity is better for the consumer, and you have a great point there. But they can still function in low liquidity type environments and spaces. And I think that the implicit assumption going into private equity is that it is low liquidity. It just is. Now, if retail has better access to it, that should actually improve liquidity overall. But as far as a product that retail is actually used to using, it is a very low liquidity thing. So,
and overall, if it works well and gets a bunch of different countries involved too, I mean, that will be very exciting. Just think about what that does to the market cap of US companies whenever everyone has access to those. That's the really exciting thing. The exact same bullish case for stablecoins. Like, getting American dollars, and why it's so important that the United States keeps their stability here is that everyone around the world wants US dollars. They want that stable dollar. Going to a bank in your local, country, like I can't think of a Morocco, and saying, hey, I want a US dollar account. I bet that proves to be quite hard, and if you set up a crypto wallet, you can get USDC, USDT, USDG, PayPal USD, and it's pegged 1-to-1 to US dollars. And that's really, really good for the United States government because they don't care if it's in tokenized form or regular form. At the end of the day, that company has to go out and get those US dollars and hold them on their side, that 1-to-1 backed US dollars. So that's great for US dollars. That same sort of thing is going to happen here. There's going to be some sort of Paxos company that has to go out and buy those shares to 1-to-1 them on these blockchains. And that means a lot more liquidity around the world of people who want to buy companies like Nvidia or Tesla or all these things where the fees for traditional brokerages in their countries. And I mean, whenever I say in their countries, I mean, like even mine, like you can go to a lot of applications that still do not have commission free or even remotely near commission free in Canada, where blockchain would really, really lower that reward. And if they were to do this for Europe, it'd probably be easily pushed out to Canada, considering, blockchains worldwide. It's just the regulators that would be stepping in the way.
Yeah, my thoughts on this are I still don't, I don't fully understand what is the value to tokenizing assets. I'm still learning about it, and I do believe there is a ton of value, but I'm still trying to understand exactly why someone in Europe buying a share of Apple via Solana's blockchain that Robinhood's built versus just like on their regular brokerage app makes a difference. I'm sure clearing fees, speed, liquidity, all that stuff, that's part of it. But I think that's something that Robinhood, if they launch this year, they're going to have to be able to explain in a meaningful way, right? They're going to have to be able to educate everybody on why this matters so much. And then
I think you answered it.
Yeah, I mean, and like, but to the average person, right? Why would they use this thing over their brokerage? I guess is the
Instant
big
settlement.
Yeah, instant settlement, lower fees, 24/7.
Yeah, but if you're on your brokerage account, like to leave, it's a bit of a hurdle, right? Like it's not that. So I think that's where they've got to stress like how important it is. The thing I'm excited about is the other assets. Like if you can get Manhattan real estate tokenized and I can trade that, or if I can trade SpaceX, right? All these other things that if they build the infrastructure for with US assets right now, aka stocks, that eventually in the next couple of years leads to anything that's traded, that's the gold mine for Hood, right? Like that's the whole world trading anything at any time, which I think would be really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, this is essentially just backing things 1-to-1, and they have some automated. I mean, the way that I see it, maybe they have a different understanding of this, but that every time someone goes in and buys this tokenized version, that whenever the markets are open, they're buying that. So I think that the problem of fractionalizing private companies would still be very similar. Like the problems would still be there.
I agree. Okay, so here's another question. Why do you think Europe is the first place where they want to introduce this in terms of like tokenized assets?
Well, they already have the crypto licenses there. Trade PMR helps facilitate a lot of that too. They alluded to that during the time of the acquisition. It's not regulate. There was a word that they used that I'm missing, but in essence, it's already there. It's already good with the lawmakers, and so that's one less hurdle. And then maybe one of the other factors is, I mean, they see a massive opportunity in Europe just with the competition there. It's not. There are crypto competitors out there, but it's not as robust as here in the United States. They did launch their wallet there. You can do some crypto there in Europe, and so I think that's a factor. They have the crypto event in France, I think, for a reason. It's not just like they're like, hey, France is nice that time of year. And then maybe the last little bit is if they can launch it in Europe among all that really over-regulation, it can be launched just about anywhere. Maybe not North Korea, but just about anywhere.
Also, I'm not trying to be that guy, but Lunar does say this. They can't take away your buy button or sell button on blockchain.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there goes that problem. or not even problem, but that risk.
Perception. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, just a quick summary from either of you, but how exactly is it different than actual shares? For someone wondering.
It's not directly a share. It's
Like a
kind of
wrapped
like
share.
what's that?
Like do you know wrapped
It is.
Bitcoin?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Like
what I was
wrapped
thinking. I was
share.
like, wrap Bitcoin. How do I explain this simply?
Yeah.
It's not Bitcoin, but it is if you unwrap it, kind of.
A dollar back in the day used to represent a coupon of gold. Well, it wasn't gold, but it was as good as gold. So it's a coupon of a share, essentially.
Yeah.
This right here gets you a share.
Yeah, I have a bunch of silver certificates, not a bunch, but some, where they literally say right on it, it's redeemable for that amount of silver. And it was silver backed, initially gold backed. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that, Tanner.
Yeah. It's like an ADR.
Yes. Safer, but yes.
Okay. So one thing I just want to say real quick before we leave this topic is I just want to say Vlad did this in a podcast with a YouTube channel that had 500 subscribers, 160 views. I'm just saying, I know there's people in certain communities in the stock market that think my argument about embracing new media and going on podcasts, they equivocate the argument to, oh, Amit thinks a podcast means the stock goes up. Well, to be honest, if you looked at Robinhood stock, but second of all, it's not about the stock going up. It's about embracing new media. Vlad has done 10 podcasts since the gold event. It's been 1 month, a month and a half, 10 different podcasts. I mean, come on, bro. 10 hours, the ROI on those 10 hours, even if those are not Joe Rogan types of podcasts, are massive. So I just think, again, I'm very, very impressed by his ability to continuously communicate, get in front of people's eyes and ears, and convert people into understanding his message. I think it's important. It's really important for if freaking Jensen Huang is doing it, I feel like Vlad should be doing it as well.
Yeah. And Vlad is doing it, but I think you're alluding to some others that are perhaps not, and we won't name those.
No, I'm just saying people were acting like it's a stupid argument for a CEO to do podcasts. I'm like, I don't know how stupid it is to embrace the next generation. It was 100 subscribers are on that channel, or 500 subscribers, 100 views. Is that ROI friendly? Like any person? No, it's not. Like you should be, going for bigger distribution. But the fact that he's doing it, I think, shows the attention to detail that he has on getting the message out there towards a specific audience.
Well, I can give a quick story, and I won't spoil the ending, but I reached out actually to several different people as far as interviews. One non-company person that's really exciting that'll be interviewing here, maybe next month. And I reached out to a CEO of HIMS. I'll just say that I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hopeful on that one.
A CEO of HIMS.
Yeah, it's like I'll just share that because they haven't responded yet. Like who cares? And then another company I reached out to, and I had two names in my mind. I'm like, hey, this is who I am. I'd love to interview these guys. This is the reason why. This is what I'm looking to achieve. This is how it would work. What do you guys think? And they were so excited by it that they said, we don't want to just give you one of these two to interview. We want you to have two separate interviews if you'd like to.
Wow.
You'd be stagger them apart like in different quarters. And I'm like,
I'll tell you who it is later, Amit, or if Roy will let me, but
yes.
It's
big.
These will be fantastic.
It's a public company?
Yes.
Very much so.
It's exciting.
And that was it. You just cold DM'd them.
Yeah. I knew somebody that I could contact through there, but yes.
Dude, I just think it's really good energy to put out into the world, especially if you're much bigger in your celebrity and you give time to someone who is not as big. And so the fact that he took the time out to do a podcast with a channel that has 500 subscribers, I just think that's good energy in the world. And you tend to get rewarded by doing something that's not ROI friendly on the monetary value of your time, but is ROI friendly in terms of giving other people an opportunity. I mean, that's what he did with me. He didn't have to do my podcast in February 2024. That podcast changed my life, but he took the time to do it, right? So it's like, I just think it's good energy putting it out into the world. And
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm very thankful to Vlad because I have a smaller presence, smaller channel. I do this as a hobby, not full time like you guys. Well, Tanner's not full time. He does this, but he also plays pickleball. So it's the torn priorities. But yeah, regardless, like if Vlad hadn't done that initial interview, I don't know that I would have had that opportunity. I might have with Alex Chris, but who knows? But it opened up the door to a lot of different things, and I love that, he wasn't bothered by like the other week, 500 people on that podcast. It's not massive at all. And he's like, you know what? Sure, I'll go ahead and do it. And part of that too is with Robinhood. I don't know that this would work with every company. There are companies like Block is one of those. If Dorsey's in the room, things get done. And if he's not, they just don't. With Robinhood, everybody knows what they're working on. They're highly integrated. They're not siloed. And he's hired very competent people that get things done, whether Vlad goes golfing or he goes on a podcast or he's there working 24/7 like the markets will eventually be. So I think that, kind of shows the trust that he has in his team too, that he doesn't have to be cracking the whip. These are all people that are very well motivated for the objective.
I would agree. Okay, is there any other Robinhood news this week? I think the crypto stuff was the main thing.
I have one little bit of news on Robinhood. I ended up trading events contracts for the first time. So
you become a degenerate gambler?
Absolute degen.
Yes, that's totally me. And
Wait, can I ask you a
the
question?
reason why I did it is I was looking at the futures contract, not the sports betting. If people use that, that's fine. It's just not me. But I was like looking at the probabilities of a rate cut in June. I'm like, I think that they're mispriced. Of course, it's gone down since then, so I've lost money. But it's like I'm risking like $50, so it's not a huge bet. But mostly, I just wanted to try it out. And I was like, it makes sense to me to make this bet. If I get it right, I get $300. I'll probably sell before then. That's the nice thing about the events contract. But it's one thing to know about it as something that people can do, but to actually be able to experience it, I was like, okay, yeah, so that's how it works. Great. And it's very seamless, very easy, very straightforward. They show you exactly what the payouts are, when it's going to be paid out to. It's a good product. So not
okay. Well, hold on a second, because this is important. Did you really want a 25 basis point cut contract? Or were you like to the point where you would have done this on another app? Or were you cross-sold because you were already on the app?
The latter.
You didn't have a second app that you wanted it to be put on?
Yep. No, it's the latter. I would not, like, if I know that Kalshi has this, and I know several other people do too. Webull has it now. But I'm not going to move money over there just to do that. But since it's there, yeah, sure.
There you go.
So do you feel any moral issues with doing this or no?
No, this is within the same, in my mind, the way that it works is this is within the same parameters as betting on actual stocks and stuff. So I've done it indirectly as well. And actually, I think Sam Solid had mentioned that he made a similar bet, not on this, but on the CPI as well. And so I'm like, economic indicators make sense. They impact the stock market. I like that those are there but the sports betting stuff, still neutral on it. Great for revenue. But, it could, I really do see a little bit an indication of this. And they alluded to this as well. I think you asked this question during the earnings, Tanner. Correct me if wrong. As far as if they were seeing some people, no, it wasn't your question. It was
mine.
It was your question. Okay. Whether they were actually seeing some people come into the flywheel through this and actually join. And we didn't get, the clearest answer, but
no.
Yeah, it's got to be happening at least some level. The question is how much.
Okay, last hood topic, then we'll talk about some other tech stuff. Just generally, S&P back above the 200-day moving average. China, U.S. kind of have a trade deal. Markets looking like they want to get back to all-time highs. I mean, Robinhood's almost at 60. This has got to be bullish for Hood going into Q2, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would also imagine.
Yeah. I mean, more volatility. It's fantastic for Robinhood. It's not fun to hold through this process like this. I was also thinking, beyond just the stock price action, they have the Robinhood index, which measures basically the performance of Robinhood users against the S&P 500. And ever since COVID, it's underperformed. And I was like, man, retail has bought this dip heavy and hard. Institutions have not. And so they might actually be able to outperform. Well, we don't know yet. It's a lagging indicator. But the thing is, they own a lot of retail investors on Robinhood own a lot of Ford. And Ford is a stable coin. So that doesn't really help them.
So the top 10 investments as of May on Hood are Amazon, reasonable, Apple, reasonable, Nvidia, reasonable, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, reasonable, Palantir, pretty damn cool. And then you have Disney, GameStop, and Ford, which I don't get why those three are there.
Yeah.
So the Ford one is pretty interesting, actually. Stephen Quirk talked about this on the
he did?
Compound Friends.
What
He did, yeah.
So 2 reasons. One, I think it was actually one of their giveaways whenever people would sign up to the app. But also the share price was super low. I think it was like single or double digits, or like low double digits. And so whenever people looked for companies that they wanted to buy and they weren't bringing over hundreds or thousands of dollars, it was an easy company to get started with because it was only a couple dollars. And this was before fractional shares. So those people are still hodling their Ford stock.
Well, they're getting a dividend, so why not, right?
Yeah.
So
There you go.
and then you have GameStop, which makes sense. Robinhood.
I wonder if there's any kind of like, I don't think that they do this. Robinhood was not publicly traded when I joined the platform. I got my reward on there, but I'm betting that there's not a way that they can just give Robinhood shares or partial Robinhood shares to people for the rewards. But like, that's an easy way to kind of pump the stock if people are just going to hold that free share like that. I don't know. But it is interesting. I did like that Quirk ended up talking about why Ford is so prevalent there. The rest, mostly makes sense. So,
All right, let's get into some other tech stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the conclusion to the China stuff is that bullish Hood, bullish equities, bullish volatility. If April they had their highest equity and options month, and it was like kind of bearish, I would, if May ends up being more bullish, it could be a really good Q2 for Robinhood.
Overall, it seems like Trump is good. Maybe not for markets in general. I'm not saying he's not, but like maybe that's up for discussion. But it does seem like he's good for Robinhood. The volatility and the uncertainty is beautiful for Robinhood shares.
Yeah. Okay, so getting into some other tech news, I see a request in the comments on this question. Tanner put out a video where
he posted it like 12 times.
Really wanted an answer.
Yeah.
Tanner put out a video, and the title is Nvidia's going to 250. Get in now.
Yeah, it's just my alt account. Sorry, guys. No.
So I watched it. I thought it was a great video. I do have a question, though. Do you really think it's going to 250 in 2025?
So
that's what you said, and I don't know if that's happening.
I said this on my live stream. I might be a little excited. I definitely think it's going to 200 by 2025. Like,
so hold on, that's basically a doubling this year.
Not from now, but from previously. Yeah, we've been able to get it cheaper, but yeah.
But
we're
200
120 already.
200 would be 6 trillion market cap.
Yeah, I'm just saying 120 to 200 is not a doubling.
It's not a double, but you're calling on 6 trillion by the end of the year. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Well, so for 250, probably within the next 12 months. I think people are so underestimating, one, how cheap the value of Nvidia is. Okay. The different countries that are trying to get involved in artificial intelligence, I think it'll be everyone. I think India will be buying GPUs. I think UAE will be buying GPUs. I think China, I think America. All of those are super optimistic. I think the road does not end at Blackwell. Okay. This will be the most important, largest company. I said this in like 2021. I was talking with Steve. I said the first $10 trillion company will be Nvidia. I still heavily believe in that. The only thing I'm surprised by is how hesitant the market is to, probably due to the overall size of the business, because I get it. It's expensive and 6 trillion seems crazy, but 3 trillion back in the day seemed crazy. And now we're here. Like there will be $6 trillion businesses, especially the ones that are enabling the largest technological advancement in history.
I agree. But by the end of this year, I don't know.
So, Amit, do you think that this will overtake Microsoft as far as market cap this year?
I don't. I just feel like 200's a bit aggressive by the end of the year.
I mean, 200. I honestly, I don't even think it's that aggressive. Like, there's Wall Street analysts that have over or a $200 price target. So, and they're
Do you want me-
usually more calm than I am on pricing
Do you want to know my price target, Tanner, for this?
for end of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a SoFi joke for.
I didn't get it. I was like, what? What are you talking about?
It's for the SoFi insiders. Oh no, like realistically, I agree with a bit here. I think 250. It's you're doing the YouTube thing. I understand that's kind of the way it's played, and you're not. It's not impossible. It's certainly not, and I wouldn't say it's undeserved either. But it would take a lot of factors lining up almost perfectly to get to that. I think more likely you're looking at probably around 175, 180 in a decent market. Could be higher, could hit 200. 250 is a pretty big ask for the.
I'm in this
largest
parallel universe where I have two Palantir investors being like, "Oh, that valuation seems a little stretchy." What is happening right now?
Okay, so just because something is wildly expensive does not mean that other things should be wildly expensive. It's just a bad argument. So.
Well, I do think that Palantir should be priced high because of the industry that they're trying to capture. And it's the exact same. The one that's enabling Palantir to do what it's doing is Nvidia.
Nvidia doesn't have the fucking
Nvidia doesn't have ontology.
They don't have the shareholder letter. They don't have the shareholder letter. Dude, I read that shareholder letter. I didn't know it was going to be that long on the live stream. There's 15,000 people. This shit took 7 minutes to. I'm looking at the comments through the side of my eye, and everyone's like, "Stop reading," and I'm just like, "I'm not gonna stop reading. I'm just gonna." It was a lot.
Yeah,
but
he had like wild pop culture stuff, and I know he quoted Augustine, and like it was just like my goodness.
No, but the thing is, if the stock was up, no one would have given a fuck. But the thing was tanking while I'm reading German philosophers, and everyone's just so pissed off. And it was just like, but Nvidia doesn't have that, dude. They don't even have their mics working properly on the call. Okay, you want them to be 6 trillion? Like, come on, Tanner, come on. What's her name? What's the CFO's name? Colleen or something? Like, can you fucking get the mic to work properly? Like,
and by the way, in case you guys were not aware that you're watching us maybe for the first time, all of us own Nvidia. All of us are bullish on Nvidia. Amit bought like 200 shares.
I bought more on Friday.
I bought more today. It's Nvidia and Bitcoin are my only DCA, so we're all bullish. Just Tanner is super bullish on Nvidia, and so he sold Tesla because he wanted to underperform, and he bought Nvidia instead.
And
not gonna lie, you had some bad timing on that, Tanner.
I agree with the decision, though. It made sense to me, and you can't really help those short-term things. Like you can have the right idea, the right process, and the market just does what it wants, and you get it wrong.
Yeah,
so
I'm not worried about the bad timing at all. It's not like some news got released. The stock just started going up. And by the way, I'm not underperforming that much. Nvidia has also ran quite a lot since then. So
dude,
everyone's looking at Tesla and being like, oh, as if I moved it to cash or something.
You fucking bet against Elon Musk, bro.
I never bet against Elon.
I'm not betting against him.
Hey, when X launches their payment solution sometime this year, it's going to kill Nvidia.
Dude, I think that payments thing is going to be not good. Like, first of all, who uses a debit card? Like, people like. I mean, yes, people use debit cards, but if the brand vision is like a debit card, I'm like, what?
I mean, Roy is probably steaming from ear to ear right now because PayPal's big thing right now is that Gen Z does not use credit; they only use debit.
Well, I haven't seen this data. Is that what they believe? They believe that.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, no, it's one of the reasons why like Alex Chris has really been able to monetize Venmo very effectively and really have this omni-channel push. I'm sure you've seen the Will Ferrell commercials, and a lot of that's just through the debit card. Like it's easy. It's sitting there. They have a really good debit card, and Gen Z, I don't know why they're so credit card averse. I actually really like Robinhood's credit card because they allow you to add family members. I got my 2 20-year-olds that are on it, so they can actually build their credit, and I get their rewards, which is like really sweet. But It really is. It's just like, hey, you guys will inherit from me one day. Maybe like over the course of a year, I'll be able to buy a few extra shares of Palantir, and that's going to $1 billion or something. I don't know.
The only cool thing about the X thing is that if people can tip you via your profile, that money automatically goes into your X money account, and then you can spend that money. But outside of that, it's just another checkings account on X, which is cool, but it's not like,
Yeah.
You know what also drove me a little nuts with all these Tesla fanboys and everything is that they'll talk about stuff like X money and stuff like this. I'm like, you're not you're betting on Elon. Elon's benefiting from this. You benefit from 1/6 of his businesses. Of course, everything going on with XAI and SpaceX is all great, and they all cover it on these channels, like these Tesla channels. I'm like, what do you have to do with SpaceX? I don't get it.
Here's a more important question, okay? So you sold Nvidia, or you sold Tesla, you put it into Nvidia. Nvidia's up a little bit, Tesla's up a lot since you sold. I'm saying this to make
You're making it seem like it's like a huge one.
No.
It's like 10%.
Okay, I'm saying this to make a point. Do you, as an investor, like, I think it's a good kind of teaching. It's a way for us to understand how you think of investing. Do you
It's a learning lesson for me.
No, it's a learning lesson for me. Do you care that a stock is running after you sold it, even though you felt totally in the right mind of getting rid of that stock? Do you have a little bit of that regret? Or are you kind of just like, this stock is a meme stock, it's running for stupid reasons, and I'm happy that I'm not in it, even if I missed a little bit of a run?
Yeah, I could never have, 100% the latter. So I could never have bet that it would have gone up on what news?
Yeah.
So if Q2 does great, if it absolutely crushes estimates, that's my mistake, right? That's stuff that I could have potentially seen. I don't think Q2 is going to do well. So if people want to bet that, the stock should still go up miraculously like it did on Q1 on a bad report, I mean, the market can act irrational. But that's I'm going to bet on the other direction, where Nvidia continues to post the best results a company has ever seen. Roy, I don't know if you even watched the Nvidia video, but
I don't watch pumpers when they're company stock 250.
But whenever you look at the margins,
I was doing the dishes, by the way, when I watched it. It was really good. While I was doing the dishes, I was listening in the back. I was like, all right, Tan, tell me I'm going to get rich. So
I've heard the place to watch Tanner videos is like when you're in the spa or sauna or something like that. So
it's definitely the sauna. I also, by the way, that's where I get most of my YouTube content done, is in a sauna.
like you're like planning in the sauna, what you're going to record?
No. It's like whenever I listen to all the other YouTube content.
Legit, that's in the hot tub is usually when I listen to a lot of YouTubers. I'm just like, sitting there relaxing, thinking markets.
I'm getting through 0 to 1, and that's just, by the way, amazing.
Dude, maybe you buy some Palantir after you read the book.
Well, I'm not even far enough into it for him to, like, I think he mentioned Palantir a little bit, but like mainly it's just talking about, super moats and not wanting competition.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Palantir stuff directly in there, but you can see how it was built and why it was built that way.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. If I sold a stock for a legitimate reason and then it goes up, I don't think you can sleep well at night having regret that the stock went up. It's just like, if that's the case, you're always going to be chasing everything. Like, I don't feel regret that I didn't buy freaking ARB. You guys saw this freaking stock that's up 10,000% in the past 2 months? RGC, this biotech. Like, I don't have any regret that I didn't buy this thing. Like, you just can't predict this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's an unhealthy mentality just to like fixate on those things that you missed. And like, if people don't believe me, just think about relationships. So I didn't experience this much just because, I found my wife very early in life. But, if you have a breakup or even like not a romantic relationship, but like a friend, like you and your friend just have a falling out, it's very unhealthy to be, looking at their Instagram or their Facebook like constantly, and then you're miserable when they're having a good time, and then you're a miserable person because you're like, aha, take that when they're not doing so well. It's just easier, at least for myself, when I have a trade. Like I did a swing trade on Celsius, so it wasn't long. I swung it. I lost money because that's what that stock is good for. But I was like, okay, I've sold, I've taken my losses, and you're now my ex, and I'm going to put you in a folder that I'll look at you maybe like once every 6 months just to kind of see, because there might be an opportunity to get back in for a swing down the road. But I don't want to look at it every day. I don't want to be like, oh man, I shouldn't have sold. Now the harder thing is, like, I took some gains on HIMS, but I still have most of my position, and so I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I've locked in gains, but it's higher than where I sold it. So
Yeah, I mean, overall, I wish the best for both Tesla and Nvidia. And if I can get back into Tesla after Nvidia has ran a bunch and Tesla doesn't do as well, who knows? I mean, I still want exposure to Tesla. I like the humanoid robotics play, but you know, because Kathy Wood puts out a report that she says the same price target, and she says, "Oh, we're holding our price target." No, you didn't. You pushed it down a year. You said 2,600 by 2029. Now you're saying it's by 2030. That's not like you.
Dude, she said Zoom was going to 1,500 by 2026.
Yeah, you said Tesla to 1,400 in 2025 back in 2020. Where'd that go? Like, go back and look at the long predictions that she made in 2019 for 2024. She missed that by a long shot. 2025, she missed that by a long shot. She's so, yeah, I don't know. And what humanoid robotics were you talking about now? It makes up for like 100% of your prediction today, but yet it wasn't even a part of it a couple of years ago.
The reality is, and I think probably most people in the comments know this, that when analysts throw out a price target, there are some that take that craft very seriously. And it probably, Kathy Wood probably really annoys them because there's many others that just use that kind of like clickbait on YouTube, that you put that in the title, you get people to click on the video, and then you tell them like the actual breakdown and everything. It's window dressing, but it's not that for everybody. And man, it's got to be annoying to be somebody that takes it seriously. And there's other people that are throwing out ridiculous price targets. I mean, I get annoyed with even stocks that I own where, you know, people are like, Palantir is trading at like $70 and they're like, Palantir is 100x from here. And they're not talking about like in 50 years. They're talking about like in 5 years. I'm like, no, I'm bullish, but no.
Yeah. People say I'm still, hurt on Tesla. I don't think like I've gotten over the trade. I think it's the army of my ex's friends that come and tell me that I shouldn't have, gotten rid of her or whatever, that she's going to date someone better. But yeah.
I like on that video where you posted that trade that you were selling Tesla, buying Nvidia, and I said, now we can moon. And
like the number one most liked comment. And I think most of the people that are liking it don't even know our relationship at all. They're like, yeah, this Crossroads guy understands.
I mean, I own Tesla, but I understand where you're coming from in that trade. I mean, we talked about it here. Was it like 2 or 3 weeks ago? So yeah, it's not ridiculous.
Okay, but hold on. So you think Nvidia 200 is not crazy by the end of this year?
It's possible. I'd probably say 180. I'm more comfortable with as far as a price target. Part of that is
until it's 170, and then you're gonna be like, yeah, 200 looks, This was SoFi. SoFi in November was like $11, and you guys said, what price do you think it's gonna end the year at? And I was like, well, I hope it goes to 15. And they're like, 15? It's only 11 right now. And it ended at like 18 or something.
Yeah, but that's a lot easier to move a stock the size of SoFi versus Nvidia. There's a reason why Nvidia does not have a whole bunch of like 6%, 7% days like it had today. There's a lot of news, and it was very, very green, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. But that's a rarity. There's a lot of days where it'll move 1 or 2%. On a really good day, it might move 4%. For HIMS, that's basically flat if it moved 4% in a day. So like the smaller the market cap, certainly, but also the smaller the float, the easier it is to move. Also, when a stock is one of the largest market caps in the world, it doesn't move the same way as small caps, micro caps, even mid caps.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to get to a crazy overpriced thing that other companies can get to. But it can still absolutely hit those prices. If they have earnings that are hot, they'll be the most profitable company in the world this year.
Now, there is a chance that they get above 200, but to do that, it's going to take some help. And the biggest help that can happen is if Tevis actually buys in and then sells covered calls at 200, then it's almost guaranteed that it goes above that. But I don't know that that's going to happen.
That's true. But we'll have to see. I mean, it also requires the market to be efficient.
It's not though.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Are
Bro,
you trying to end right now,
what if,
Amit?
huh?
Are you trying to end right now?
No, I'm not trying to end. I was gonna ask, what if Tesla freaking is like 500 by the end of the year and Nvidia is like 130 or like, dude, that would be crazy.
Then I'm gonna take my lumps.
No,
You know?
forget how it makes you feel. I'm just saying, like, that would be insane for the market if freaking Tesla is pushing 2 trillion and Nvidia can barely budge. You know?
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about the market, though, is you can have like a 50% win rate and still make out incredibly well in the market. Actually, 50% is pretty good. Just the nature of the market, because you're not. It's not a okay. You win one, great, and then you lose one, and it's the same. Usually, your losses are going to be smaller than your wins, depending on how you do it and what you're investing in. In a company like Nvidia, like I have a hard. I have a hard way to see how Tanner actually loses money over the long term in that. It's an incredible company positioned well, and he's going to profit. Now, if he doesn't make as much money as Tesla, I don't think he's going to cry himself to sleep because he's still going to be very wealthy. So,
well, every dollar Nvidia moves, this guy makes like $100,000. So I mean, like this guy,
It is by far the largest position I've ever had ever.
and I love it. I love the
yeah, that is crazy. But I've got crazy conviction. Like AI is here and the whole world wants it. And there's one player supplying 75% of the rest of the world's demand.
Can I play an Nvidia clip? I posted it's 2 minutes.
Sure.
I got this clip from Tanner's video, but this clip even gave me more conviction in how serious Nvidia is the AI revolution and what you're actually getting when you buy a share of this.
I'm in it. Oh no, that
it's from your video.
Not since IBM in the 60s has a company like us existed, where we come up with a blank sheet of paper, design a brand new architecture, create the chips, create the systems, create the networking, create the infrastructure, write all the software, take that software to the market, have the world's developers and ecosystem develop for that computer, kind of like we develop for iPhones, and you develop for Windows, you develop for Nvidia. And so not since the 60s and 70s when IBM built everything from the ground up has a company like us exist. We build the chips, but we build the entire system, and we're really an AI infrastructure company today. If you look at the systems we build, each one of our chips, if you will, it's 1.5 tons. There's 1.5 tons chip, and it's $3 million each. We build these things in very high volume. We manufacture it, assemble it, and then we test it. We use a supercomputer to test the supercomputer, because you have to be smart to test if the computer you make is smart. And so we test everything is liquid cooled, and then we test everything, assemble everything, we disassemble everything, put it on a plane, ship it to wherever the data center is, assemble it again outside their door, put it inside their data center. This entire process has 200 manufacturers and suppliers working with us around the world. We build a couple of $100 billion of it a year. At this moment, we're the largest technology company, chip company in the world, I guess, if you will. And so it's incredibly hard to do. Our R&D budget, per generation is probably about $20-30 billion. And so this is a giant game. But we're working into an industry, Mike, that the intelligence industry will likely be measured in trillions of dollars, and so the amount of investment that we're making is warranted for the opportunities ahead.
Dude, that's what you get when you buy a share of Nvidia. It's just, and as Steve has said many times on the channel, Costco and Walmart are more expensive than that,
which is crazy.
Like a lot more, like twice as more.
Yeah.
Twice as much. But you literally got that clip right from my video.
Yeah, so I think you posted like 30 seconds of it, and then I went into the Milken Institute YouTube thing, and I
oh, you didn't get, oh, okay. Because I sped up that clip, but you must have also sped it up as well.
I just went to the actual keynote and I cut it out. Because when I heard that on your video, I was like, dude, like there's a lot of shit that goes into making a GPU. It's not as easy as just, making it.
Yeah, and so this is actually one thing that I think gives Nvidia such a moat that software has a problem with, is like even the best AI plays still because they're still so new, have the potential of being disrupted by a DeepSeek or something like this that comes in with a completely different strategy, tiny team, small funding, and disrupt. Well, they're not. The funding was not that little, but and disrupt some of the old guard. You literally cannot do that to Nvidia. You can have entire like countries try to fund startups that will not disrupt Nvidia because the the processes are just way, way, way too deep. They're talking about the $20 to $30 billion of R&D every year. Good luck catching up. Good luck.
I agree. Look, you got me into this damn stock, and now I'm more convicted than ever. And
buddy,
I'm
I
up on
love
my shares. I'm up on my shares now, so it's good.
Good.
But, yeah,
I
man,
mean,
I'm excited.
I think at the same time, Amit and I ended up saying, okay, makes sense.
And the covered call premiums are great, dude. So it's like me and Roy care about that. Tam doesn't do it.
They're okay. I mean, they're not Hims covered calls premium, but
Yeah, you're spoiled rotten.
Yeah, but I'd rather
Dude.
freaking own Nvidia over Hims. Dude, this
Yes,
stupid
yes.
stock, bro. It's gonna go to 100, and I'm gonna be mad I didn't buy it. But like, I just feel like it's due for a pullback, but it's not gonna pull back because it's short 34%. So it's gonna fucking squeeze. Like I can already see what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know which way. Like for me, it's impossible to predict that stock price action. I already took some gains, but Hims is one of those where it's a great company, but the stock is so volatile. It's sized rightly for me, so I can sleep at night. Like I don't have to wake up and be like, oh man, is it down 10%? Because it can do that just on a single headline in a day. Nvidia, though, like I'm not sure. If you own that stock, like what are you worried about? Like you might not make insane money in the next like 3 weeks, but if you're in that for long term, it's easy. And I think Hims is too, but it's going to be a very volatile journey for him. So I ended up selling covered calls, some aggressively, some very tepidly. And even the premiums for I think I sold 85s because I was like, hey, I just want a little bit of premium. And if it goes 85, I'll sell. That's fine. They're pretty good.
All right, real quick, High Flyers, thank you for the $2 super chat. They say, Amit, you are the best. Then they sent a $1.49 super sticker. Then they gifted a membership. So thank you, High Flyers, for a bunch of gifts to the chat and for the $2 super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. You have a topic? I have a topic. Go ahead.
Google.
Okay, well, let's talk Google.
Apple came out and said that potentially search is declining for the first time. And they're looking potentially for new opportunities. But overall, what do you guys think about Google right now? I'm a shareholder of this company.
Wait, when did you buy Google?
I don't know, 2 quarters ago.
There is a great post that nobody saw. Well, a few people did from Cloudflare's earnings that's related to this. Did you guys see this?
I did not. No.
Oh man, this is like I got to start following this company. I don't think I want to own this, but basically they have exposure to about 20% of the world's internet flows through Cloudflare.
Right.
And so he was asked, Matthew Prince, the co-founder, co-chairman, CEO, basically on internet traffic, have they seen any changes since the advent of AI? And he said, as far as actual volume, no, but as far as actual mix, yes. And so here's what he said. And that is if you look over time, the internet itself is shifting from what has been a very much search-driven internet to what is increasingly an AI-driven internet. So if you look at just traffic from Google 10 years ago, for every 2 pages Google crawled, they send to 1 visitor. 6 months ago, that was up to 6 to 1. The crawl rate hasn't changed, but what has changed now is 75% of the queries to Google answers on Google without sending you back to the original source. But even in the last 6 months, the rate has increased even further, where now it's up to 15 to 1, 15 crawls for every 1 visitor. And if you look at OpenAI, which is 250 to 1, Anthropic, which is 6,000 to 1, it's putting a lot of pressure on media companies that are there that are making money through either subscriptions or ads on their pages. And there's more as well, but I thought that was really interesting. And that is really kind of what I was thinking might happen, although I wasn't thinking about it quite the same way. Before I turn over to you guys, are you guys familiar with MCP, Model Context Protocol? Somewhat.
No.
In essence, this is something that Anthropic, I think, ended up coming out with the idea of, and it's been embraced. Look at Quarter, search for MCP and then Model Context Protocol, and you're going to see it all over the place from companies like PayPal and a lot of others. And in essence, the AI-driven internet is not the same as us. Like, it doesn't need to see things the exact same way. It's kind of like when you saw the AI a while ago when they were talking, and I think we might have done this on here. It might have been in After Hours on SoFi, where you had two models basically talking to each other, and they switched to basically a resonance language that allowed them to communicate a lot more quickly and rapidly. Well, one of the challenges with LLMs is basically having the context to be able to infer that API. And so rather than risk it with hallucinations, they basically use Model Context Protocol so that you can communicate from one API to another, one website to another through these AI agents. And so I asked actually Chad Walquist of Palantir about this. Like if I had the right understanding, it's kind of like, it's not exactly the same thing as an ontology. It's not as widespread, but it's kind of designed to attack the same issue. And we're going to see, I think, with the advent of AI agents as they continue to grow, spread, and multiply, a lot more APIs, a lot more Model Context Protocol, and you're going to see this web crawl ratio continue to deteriorate.
Right.
And so maybe the volume of internet's the same, but the value of an AI agent accessing what it needs to, especially when it goes around it because of the Model Context Protocol and it just accesses the API, that really does hurt, I think, Google, but it especially hurts those that are getting the revenue based on clicks. He goes on and he actually talks about that and breaks it down, where companies that design their business around eyeballs on the actual ads, that's a tremendous headwind. And so, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah,
For me.
I'll go. I mean,
Okay, I'll be right back. Go ahead.
in the context of Google or in the context of just
Yes, both.
general AI growth?
Maybe general and then Google.
So for general AI growth, this is the thing that gets me so bullish for Nvidia. Sorry to bring it back, but like
Yes.
the amount of GPU accelerated compute is just going to. This was part of my video actually, so you should check it out after, Roy. But I think they said something along the lines of, Google does about 100 billion web searches a week, and ChatGPT right now is at about 1 billion. If that, potentially 100x is the demand, will be just completely shifted from potentially CPU usage to GPU usage.
So is that let's go to Google. Is that bearish Google or not?
Well, it depends, because it like, as it stands, Gemini is their way out. It's just if they can do that. Like there's a lot of execution risk here. So it can be very bearish Google, but they can also very much survive this while having businesses that are super long term. Google Cloud, Waymo, potentially Quantum sometime into the future. They have investments in humanoid robotics. So do I think Google to zero? Never. Do I think?
But are you buying the dip? That's the question.
I'm not buying right now.
So I'm in the same boat. I think it's insane to say Google's cooked and that they're done and search revenue is going to fall off a cliff or whatever. But I'm increasingly finding it hard when Roy talks about model context protocols and then thinking about what that means for GPU demand to buy Google over Nvidia, even though Google's way cheaper than Nvidia, right? So I don't know, dude. It's kind of scary. Like Perplexity today raising at 14 billion. These guys, I'm not saying they're going to kill Google, but they are taking searches away from Google. So what does this mean for? I don't know. I really don't know what it means for Google. I don't want to discount YouTube or any of these other things that really matter, but the core search business does feel like it will see some material declines over the coming decade.
Yeah, but that's why you buy the layer that you understand the winners in. Like, obviously, artificial intelligence is happening. This is growing. You might not be able to pick the individual names, but you might be able to pick, you know, a layer in it where you do know that there's a winner in it. and so, yeah, that's why I'm going just a little too heavy into Nvidia right now, is because I know that I want some exposure. And if there was a more clean cut public autonomous vehicle name, robotics name, you know, cloud name, and there might be a cloud name in the words of CoreWeave or something like this, but
You do love them.
what?
CoreWeave, you talk about them a good bit. So for a stock that you're not in, almost as much as Shark Ninja, but
Yeah, I mean, definitely more than Shark Ninja. I think CoreWeave might be one of the largest companies going for it. Like, it's just.
But I also think Google is going to get back to 200, and we're all going to feel kind of stupid for not buying it at 150 because it's freaking Google. Like, this is not a death blow to Google.
I'm just it's hard because there's aspects of their business that are incredibly bullish. Like Gemini is one of those things that I discounted when it first came out. It was terrible. It was. They were like, oh yeah, we've been working on this and we could do this easily for a long time, and it came out as half baked. Like a lot of what Google has launched, their culture has improved some. I don't know though. Like, so the cloud and the acquisition of Wiz, really smart, really good. Their smartphones are very well positioned. Honestly, like Samsung has had some problems. Apple doesn't innovate anymore. Gemini integrates very well into their ecosystem just naturally, and so those are all like very bullish things. And also, to Google's credit, they are all over this MCP stuff, Model Context Protocol. They're not like just waiting to go extinct. They know what's happening. Also, quantum computing as well. So there's a lot of growth vectors in the future for Google, but it's one of those question marks where, like, and maybe one of the reasons why they held off on Gemini initially was they were like, hey, if this is the shift, it is bearish for that search industry unless they figure out a way to change it. And I mean, like, that's the thing is YouTube will be fine. There's all these other revenue sources that'll be fine. But their biggest part of their company that actually brings in the money is the search business. And that feels like it's not like in danger of going extinct overnight, but it's not in a good position right now. This
was my bear case on Google.
No, but
like,
you were too early. You were too early when you did this.
I know. I'm always too early. I was too early in every position I've ever been in.
That's a lie. You're usually late. Come on.
That's true. That's fair. No, but you were touting this whole Google is dead type thing, but you were doing that at $90, a little bit too early. But your argument has always been consistent. That's for sure. But that's why when you said you bought it, I was confused because I thought you've always been anti, Google. Yeah, but my thing is that there was I think that the Meg 7 was getting way too cheap, like stupidly cheap. And I wanted exposure to big tech, and Google was one of those names that was ultimately way too cheap. Yeah. So I started buying. I mean, at what point does Google Cloud and Waymo alone make up for a large percentage of their potential market cap into the future? So can search be that add-on that, funds all their future projects while still having a very good business underneath that? Bro, but what if they figure it out? What if they make search so good in an AI world and they have some ads underneath it and they just
that's why I'm holding. If you think about Gemini, how can any company compete with Gemini whenever they have your email, they have your calendar, they have your entire cloud storage, they have your YouTube recommendations. They know who you are better than almost any company. And so do you use Gemini? Use ChatGPT. So do I. The straight answer is I use Grok and ChatGPT. But I just heard from I was listening to Jason Calacanis, and he said Gemini was crazy. So literally today I was going to add it onto the bookmarkers.
And you own an Android phone, which is crazy. You don't use Gemini. Like,
They allow all the apps on their phone. I've got Grok app. I got ChatGPT.
no, but I know. But the fact that you're a Google Android person and you're not using Google's native AI app just goes to show how they freaking allowed the first mover, GPT, to take a lot of market share.
Yep.
That's the issue with what we're
I
seeing.
definitely don't use Bing and Copilot. That's got to be literally the worst one.
So Gemini has actually taken the #1 spot on the Arena leaderboard with LLMs. This is looking at a whole bunch of different models, some public, some not, and also previous different versions as well. Gemini has always performed pretty well, and you will see, like, Gemini is not going to stay #1, indefinitely. These are kind of like the App Store where they'll trade in and out. ChatGPT is usually #1. Grok has been #1 before. DeepSeek was briefly as well. But yeah, like it's always performed well. It's interesting.
Yeah, and if as like I use Sheets, I use all these sort of things. If they can better integrate those, make those actually like really work with those, like Sheets, for example, I'll use it all the time. I want it to build charts for me really easily. It's just not well integrated. It doesn't work very well.
So, like, here's where I'm at on Google and why I'm neutral. Beyond just the reasons is like you're looking at Google more for like the AI aspects that lead to growth in that industry, and that makes sense. But it also makes sense why you're overweight on Nvidia versus Google. Like Nvidia for me, I don't want 20 different positions or anything like that, and so I really want to concentrate. And Nvidia is just the easier play. They don't have the headwinds and the danger to their core business like Google does, even though a lot of other things are going very well for Google. Like if I was had to give my thoughts on Google, I'd be like, yeah, I think that over time they're going to go up, but they'll probably, people look at their valuation like, oh, it's so cheap. A lot of that is for a very good reason, I think. Unlike Nvidia, it's not justified there.
Nvidia the best.
What we're not talking about is Meta, bro.
Yeah.
Like
It's the one I never got into.
Meta has zero search risk. Everyone uses their shit. Their llama is actually open sourced. Zucks is ruthless. I mean, I feel like that one doubles before Google.
Yeah, I remember seeing. I don't follow Meta often. I don't like their business. I just don't like the business of Facebook. I don't use the products.
You don't like connecting with people across the world?
No. No, of course, I mean, that part is fine, but
What don't you like about Meta?
I mean, we talked about this in the Uber.
Oh,
on the
you
way to
remember
the
this
airport.
conversation? That was a good conversation.
At one point, you like stopped me from talking. You said, "I have no idea what you're talking about," and Roy had to step in to be like, I agree with him, and he's talking about this. But really quick, with Meta at like $88, whenever it sank really low, I remember seeing someone say, I think it was like on X or something. They said, like, Zuck is in his 30s. He has like 30 to 40 more years of great building to go. I would not bet against this guy. And I was like, yeah, I 100% agree with that. But also at the time, their users were sort of stagnating at like 2.8 billion or something like this. I didn't know where, like, you can't just keep growing. They're not going to get 100. Well, I mean, maybe they do, but like if they get 100% of the population, I don't know. It's definitely the one that got away. And the sad part is whenever I look at the valuation, it still looks cheap. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
So it's really a mind-blowing name, but I see more upside in Nvidia regardless. So I don't feel too crazy.
I see a lot of people like myself that, they don't like the company. They probably can't invest in it, get behind it. But, Zuck is a great CEO. It's a great company. They've done very well. They will do very well. This was really interesting, I thought. May 11th headline in Forbes. And this wasn't like publicly confirmed, but it seems like there's definitely some smoke there. Meta is looking for a stablecoin partnership to give users crypto support. Probably USDC, although there over the years have been a lot of connections between Facebook and Meta with PayPal. Even their previous launch of Facebook's Libra coin they might go pay USD or at least a number of stablecoins too. But it's just one of those things where like this is a year of stablecoin. Companies that handle crypto well are just going to be very poised to benefit from. And of course, we own Robinhood. So,
But I don't even know what this means. Looking for stablecoin partnership to give users crypto support. What does that mean? Like just so
I
then
think
they can pay in crypto?
I think that's what it is. I think it's more than just with the marketplace though. Like they do have MetaPay, but I think maybe they're wanting to run MetaPay on digital payment rails for stablecoin, and then they do a lot of charity type giving. Actually,
Isn't
a lot
this
of
what
that's
Libra was for?
What's that? Oh no, Libra. Yeah, they ran into some scrutiny with like regulators there, so I don't think that they're going to do their own stablecoin. That's why they're looking for a partnership. They may actually just go through Paxos too and use something that they have out there, or USD.
Yeah, like
but
why can't you just go right through
Circle.
Stripe or something?
Yeah, they could.
Mark Zuckerberg was just on talking with Stripe about how why they abandoned those stablecoin things and how they just weren't native to payments and the strengths that Stripe had. Just
I
being,
still don't know what the hell a stablecoin is, and no one can explain it for some reason.
I don't know what you mean. No one can explain it.
It's a
What do you
digital
want to know?
Like I'm a 3-year-old. What is a stablecoin?
It's a digital dollar.
That doesn't.
Yeah,
help.
it's a So you go on. They give you fun bucks. Okay.
Who's they?
You have-
Them.
It depends on who you're with. Paxos, most likely. That's the real answer.
Papa Paxos.
Yeah, Papa
What is
Paxos.
Paxos?
A company, Circle. How about Circle? Do you know Circle?
I like squares more than circles, but I don't. I mean,
Square is terrible.
squares can be rectangles at the same time, or rectangle can be a square. I think so. Like, what the fuck is Circle? What are you talking about, bro? Like, explain it. Like, I'm a
Okay, so Circle is a private company. I think they're valued at what, like 40 billion. Like they're a massive business.
Okay, if Robinhood launched a stable coin, let's make it simpler. Well, how would this play out?
They did. It's called US Dollar Global. It's in partnership with Paxos. So they're a company that runs and issues these coins, and they've set up a program that every time that someone says, "Hey, I want a stable coin," you go in to buy one, they issue you a stable coin, and then they go to either a large institution or maybe directly with the Fed. I don't actually know how it works from that degree. And they say, "Hey, I got this dollar from our customer. Now I want $1." So then they store $1 for you, and they'll make interest on it and everything like this, because that's how they make money, is they are just collecting dollars. And so they're sitting on interest. And then you have this tokenized dollar, but really it's just a Solana or Tron or whatever network. And it's a bunch of zeros and ones on that blockchain. And so it would act as if any other transaction on that blockchain. So what Solana benefits from is extremely fast transactions, low cost, high security.
But Solana is not a stable coin.
No, but
It's a network. It's
a
like a telephone network, basically.
Visa versus MasterCard. You know, it's
So once again, what is a stable coin?
but you have to understand what blockchain is. Do you understand blockchain?
Well, I understand there are different blockchain. Like, I understand what Solana is and why it's decentralized and why developers like using it more than Ethereum for gas fees, stuff like that. But a stable coin on Solana, what does that mean?
So I can make it
Or a stable coin pegged to Solana, what does that mean? Because you guys use the word pegged so much.
So credit cards, way back in the day, even before my time, were relatively new. And so they had to build something out called payment rails. You can think of them as like train tracks almost. So when somebody swiped a card, then that money would go to somebody else. It's not magic. They didn't have the internet in those days, but basically they developed a communication protocol essentially that when you swipe that card, it knows to take that out of your account and to put it in somebody else's. And that using those rails, just like it would with the railroad, there would be a cost to that. And usually the merchant will absorb that cost. That's one of the reasons why, especially when credit cards are relatively new, a lot of individual mom and pop shops are like cash only, please. You'll still see that in some places because there is a fee that the merchants have to pay. So the benefit of stablecoins is this is digitizing those physical rails, which are like telegraph systems. I mean, a little bit more complicated, but basically that. And so this allows it to basically be instantly transferred. You don't have to wait for settlement for stocks if they're actually digitized on this. You don't have to wait on settlement as far as money. Usually merchants do. We as consumers don't see that, but merchants do. Large transaction folks do as well. It's traceable, so you can actually check on the blockchain itself because it's a distributed ledger. You can look in the record and see where it went from one to the other. It's programmable, so if you have this is like the idea of smart contracts. If you have something that you were doing, Amit, you were like, hey, I'm going to do this video for Roy. I'm like, it'd be great. When he does that, we're going to just have it so it's instantly going to pay you right then when you have that video published. And boom, you get it instantly. You don't have to send me an email, then I forget and everything.
A really great use case too.
And with a lot of the regulation ever since, the Celsius and the FTX is using algorithmic stablecoins, all that stuff. We won't go into how those work because they didn't. A lot of them, with a few exceptions, are what are called prudentially regulated, or at least there's a level in between that's not fully that. But the idea is basically all that money that is being held in reserve to back the stablecoin. It's kind of like United States dollars used to be backed by silver. Instead, these stablecoins are backed by US dollars on a one-for-one basis, and they are separate legally and distinct. So if like PayPal, for instance, that has a stablecoin goes bankrupt, they're not going to, but if they do, they're actually still protected for the users. And so that stablecoin is always worth $1 because that's what it's backed by. Now, there are other stablecoins that are backed, for instance, by gold or by the euro. I mean, you can back it by anything, and it'll always be trade on a one-for-one basis with whatever that underlying asset is.
Okay. What are your questions, Amit?
No, I mean, look,
do you get it, or do you want him to stop?
Well, I have a better understanding of it. I mean, look, I think I've understood them at a high level. I just never understood exactly what the value of them is, but I got to do my own research and go deeper into.
Yeah, the biggest value is merchants pay, and even PayPal pays. PayPal does not own their own payment rails, and so you can kind of think about it again, going back to the train thing. If somebody was going to ship something from Madrid and go all the way to Romania, you're going to have to go across a lot of countries, and they're going to charge you import fees all the way along. Yep. And so if you have something that started off relatively inexpensive, it's very expensive because of they term it cross-border exchange. All those little toll fees, which are little like 0.12%, but those all add up immensely. And so it hurts the merchants. It cuts into their profit and profitability and margins. And it also indirectly hurts the consumer because the merchants aren't just going to be like, well, I'll just make less money. No, they pass that on to the consumer as well by raising their prices. So that and also the instant settlement are like the two biggest factors that are really, really bullish. It's one of the reasons why a lot of countries have looked at, real-time payments. That was here in the United States. You have several of those in several different countries that work even better. But FedNow, that was, I don't know if you're familiar with that. This is better.
I'll do more research on it.
Yeah, I think we are overcomplicating it. I just think, bro, if like
you keep saying that, but then no one gives me a sentence of just explaining it. Then you go
but I don't know. Like okay, so do you remember gold used to have dollars used to be backed or gold backed? So you could go into an institution. Are you aware of that?
Aware of what?
That dollars used to be backed by gold.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you could go in and say, hey, I want to redeem these dollars for that amount of gold.
Right.
Well, that's what this is. It's backed by US dollars. I want to bring my tokens. I want US dollars.
And the benefit to the tokens is less fees and less. And
it's just they're just faster.
Okay. So I think that there you go. That's a better explanation.
It's train versus bullet train. The bullet train's faster.
And for crypto, historically, stablecoins have mostly been used for Web3. So just selling Bitcoin into USDC and then using USDC to buy Solana, just because those chains don't really communicate. So it kind of helped with that. But what stablecoin is really good for, and most cryptos are not, is real world transactions. Because if you're a merchant, like you can accept payments in Solana or whatever, but you typically don't want to hold on to that. You just want to sell it, because Solana could take by 10% in a day, and all of a sudden you've lost 10% of your sales for no reason. So stablecoin, it's always worth $1. It always is. So if you're worried about the United States dollar crashing, that's one thing. Overseas, it's also very interesting too, because we saw this like in Argentina, we saw this in Russia too at the outbreak of the Ukraine war, in Ukraine as well. That
Good
there
luck
was
getting a US
hoarding.
dollar account in Argentina.
Yeah, and there was a lot of hoarding and interest in crypto too, just because to facilitate payments, but also get away from very, very high inflation. They're like, hey, I want US dollars. This is an easy way to do that. And since the United States is actually paving the way as far as regulation for these to be used wide scale, that's why banks are talking about it. Like, look at almost any of their earnings calls. They're all over this. It helps sustain the global dollar. It does. I was actually concerned crypto would displace it, but US dollar backed stablecoin, I think, sustains it for a long time.
There's another question in here. What's the point of multiple stable coins, though? And there's no real.
Let's do like 30 seconds on, then we got to move on, because this is not that.
You're dead. You're done on it.
Like, I don't think anyone cares anymore about stable coins.
Some are safer than others. We'll just say that. Tether is sketchy, and it's also overseas.
Okay, this comment's cool. Hey, Amit, my girlfriend watched you for the first time yesterday, and the first thing she noticed was your eyebrows, and she approved. That's way more fun than a stable coin. I mean, that's a fun topic.
Stable coins are pretty cool, though.
I think in general, you both gave a good explanation. Like, there's less fees, less.
They're not cool, but eventually you got to learn about them because they are coming.
Yeah, and the idea of it being pegged 1-to-1 with the USD, that makes it that gives you a reason, if you want to use a stable coin, to not be afraid to use it. Especially,
we're done. We don't have to talk about it anymore, but they are coming.
Dude, these fucking bots on YouTube
you're getting killed right now. I'm watching this.
It's actually insane. I love YouTube, but how does Google not do something about it? I mean, it's just.
That is actually a big worry that I worry about with artificial intelligence, is it always seems like the offense might just be a little faster than the defense. And as AI scales, I do worry that like bots or whatever, they're annoying, but they're not life-threatening.
That and our bots training bots at this point. If they're scraping data from social media like X, there's so many bots on X. They're scraping bot data.
Dude, my mods are working overtime here. This is ridiculous. This is bad. Okay, what other tech news do we have? We talked Nvidia, we talked Google. Maybe do one more topic. Juicy topic.
I don't know if we want to get into this or not, but did you guys see the car dealership guy and his very brief interview? There's like a 1-minute clip on Tesla and demand.
Well, let's play it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to know this.
Let me know if you can't hear it. I might
watch it be booming demand, like it's it's off the charts. Can't hear it.
You can send me the tweet.
You guys hear it?
No.
Okay.
No. You got to be in tab view.
Yeah, let me stop.
Also, you can send it to me and I'll pull it up. Let's do this. We'll talk about Tesla, and then whatever questions you guys have in the chat, we'll do like a rapid fire of questions, and for like the last 10 minutes, whatever tech questions you guys have, and we'll get people's take. This is not Hood Weekly anymore. We are not entitled to use that name. We are Tech Bros. That podcast had a good 15 episode run, but we are done now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it risky to buy a Tesla right now as a dealer? How do you feel about that? I think the question that everyone is asking is, will demand follow him? Will he lose customers on the left but gain customers on the right? And to what extent will it be enough to make up for the lost customers?
What I'm seeing is mostly from the vantage points of dealers that have been in this already for a while. And they're as busy as they've ever been. So if you're a dealer that's already in this business, you understand how to move them quickly. Your market has an appetite for them. There's a center of EV excellence in your store, if you will. This is not a particularly risky time. It's actually probably one of the best times. It's highly opportunistic. For someone that is thinking about getting into the game, that's always risky because you're learning how to sell a brand new asset. It's not extra risky because of today's, we'll say, sensationalized political polarization. I'm personally hearing dealers tell me that they need as many cars as they can get.
Drown out the noise, focus on the controllables. It's a tale as old as time.
Exactly. And these are mature operators that have seen this movie before, just in different formats on different screens.
Wait, so he's
Yeah.
saying there is demand or there's not?
There's a lot of demand for used Teslas specifically. These are used car dealerships, with the exception of, I think, 2 states. Tesla is just direct to consumer. Regulation prohibits it in a couple of states. This to me really signaled that there is perhaps not as much brand damage as was supposed. If there was, well, right now Hertz and others too, there's a lot of leases that came up. So there's a flood of inventory of used Teslas. And I've seen this myself because we priced out a couple of used Teslas. We're probably going to go the new refreshed Model Y rear-wheel drive, maybe actually relatively soon at this point. But there's a huge amount of inventory that's being cycled through a lot of these websites. Like the place where I bought my Tesla, it's just they get those in and out as quick as possible. They would take all the Teslas they could get and they will sell them. They're near the DC area. But this guy is saying the same thing. He's saying, for people that have sold the EVs before, limitless demand on the used Teslas right now. And they're used, they're not new. But if brand damage was so severe that people are like, hey, I don't want to be associated with Tesla because of Elon Musk, you would not be seeing that kind of demand, especially with the inventory surplus, not surplus, but shift in the used car market. So there still is brand damage, but I don't think it's as bad as I supposed.
I think there's brand damage, but I think people have a short memory. And if Elon stopped, he hasn't tweeted about political stuff in the past 2 weeks, realistically.
It's true.
I think if he just goes back, I think if he goes back to Tesla, dude, I don't think people are going to care them. I mean, some Europeans are going to hate him forever, but
oh yeah,
dude, he's Elon. He's one of the most inspiring people to walk the earth, right?
Yeah. Those European updates, though, for April were looking harsh.
Yeah, Italy's looking good for some reason, but the rest. I don't know. People are saying Rivians are everywhere too. Rivian is, and I think EV adoption will continue up. We saw perhaps a bit of an update on whether the bill passes or not on the $7,500 tax credit, if that'll be going away. I did not read this. I just read the headline, but it looks like that for larger manufacturers that have sold a lot of EVs, the $7,500 tax credit under the current bill that's maybe going to be passed, that will end December 31st this year. If so, that's going to drive a lot of demand forward for Tesla specifically, and also other larger manufacturers. Oddly, the smaller manufacturers that have not sold as many units, those under that current bill would be able to retain the $7,500 tax credit for 1 year beyond, which is ridiculous. That would be a headwind.
Yeah, that would not be good. I do think, Elon tweeted this Optimus video today. Again, when shit like this goes mainstream, I think people are not going to care about his politics.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm still not buying it here, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still far away from going mainstream, and Tesla's got to sell a lot of these for it to catch up to the growth. But there's other parts of this narrative that, here's a good question: why do you guys think the stock is at this level? Is it just pure hype?
Yeah, it's expectations for autonomous vehicles and robots to do well over the next 10 years.
It trades purely on a narrative.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if I want to say this because I'll get some flack for it, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Tesla's a real company. They have very many growth levers in the future. Automation is a huge thing. Optimus is a huge thing. Best vehicle out there for the money, I think. It's a meme stock in the sense that it's detached completely from what's actually happening in the earnings call, what's happening as far as units that are sold. And it frustrates people that are bearish on Tesla just because they don't understand it. I don't think that it's always going to trade that way. Fundamentals do weigh over time, but it trades on the narrative almost purely. It's very retail driven. We saw it's waiting there on Robinhood. I think the institutional ownership is like 56%, which is very low for a company that's in the major indices. So yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with some quick rapid fire for like the next 5 minutes, and then we'll be done. Tanner, your thoughts on AMD versus Nvidia?
I think Nvidia wins. But AMD might be super cheap, and that will allow them to also catch a bid. But yeah, I think that companies are going to buy the chips with the lowest TCO or total cost of ownership. And right now that's Nvidia.
Okay. Intuitive Surgical. I don't have any thoughts on the company. I think it's super cool. I don't own it. I don't know if it's necessarily cheap. I do think in a world of AI and robotic automation that there will be more demand for their products, but no specific thoughts on the company. Roy, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that
I've
one.
never heard of it.
ISRG. I did see a picture the other day that reminded me of them. This is not doing a surgery, but it's I mean, it's a use case of robots. Do I have the picture? Yeah, here it is. Like, this thing would be cool. I'd pay for this thing, bro. If it could effectively massage me, like, that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, robotic arm. Apple's working on some tabletop robot stuff that was talked about by the Wall Street Journal today. That stuff seems more exciting than even the humanoids, at least right now. Nebius, any thoughts from both of you on that one?
I bought some, but it's an invest and investigate thing. I'm not sure on it. I need to do a lot more digging. So, but it seems like there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, I also don't know much about it, but it plays in the same areas that I'm looking to invest in. Data center for hire.
What I don't like about it is it's Europe, and just like the regulation and anti-AI stuff. I'm like, that's the like main red flag to me. But I don't know. They seem to be doing fine. So,
High Flyers, thanks for the $10 super chat. This is about Roy. So Roy, I will send this to you via a stable coin. It says, "Hey Roy, you are the best. What are your thoughts on Tesla Model 2?"
I mean, when it comes out, we'll have to see what it actually looks like. But having a lower end entry Tesla, I think, is a really good thing. I think that this little clip that we saw, hopefully you saw it as well from Car Dealership Guy, if not, go back a little bit, shows that there is demand for Tesla at a certain price. They're used Teslas, but I don't think people are buying them because they're like, oh, used are okay, and they're not associated with Elon, but the new is associated with Elon. No, it's people want Teslas. They're willing to pay a certain price. I think that some of the consumer shift towards Teslas, like that's kind of the way that people enter the Tesla ecosystem. I've seen for the most part, because I know a lot of people that their first Tesla, mine included, it starts with that used Tesla. And then now I'm at the point where I'm like, hey, maybe we get that new Model Y refresh. I think it's like a 95% probability this year. I think that the Model 2 can do that too. It doesn't have to be a used Tesla. I don't think that they want to rely on the used car market. They also don't get anything from that. So why not ship Model 2s that are used, that are a lower price, depending on what that price is, especially if interest rates come down. I think that they could actually have a very good product. Now, probably lower margin product, especially initially, but I think that's a very good thing for Tesla. The other factor too is not only is it an entry into future Teslas, like I think once you get into a Tesla, maybe 90% of the people that get into Tesla will never go to a different car willingly. Like they just won't. There's nothing. I mean, you can tell me, do you think you're ever going to buy a non-Tesla vehicle at this point? Like it could happen, but
I was getting a haircut the other day, and there was two guys that needed like a drive a mile away from the haircut spot. I didn't know them, like random strangers, and they were just walking with me. And you know, I ended up just giving them a drive, and they came into the car, and it was like, you know, less than 5 minutes away. And I showed them self-driving because they've never seen a self-driving car before. And I was like, it's going to drive us there. And I just clicked FSD, and they couldn't believe it. Was insane. You know, it's one of those experiences that when you feel it, it's hard to go back to anything else. So.
Yeah, and they have services. I mean, it's like it's a whole Apple thing. Like it's so well built as a car. It's so well built as a company. There are issues, but man, if you can get more people in the ecosystem, that's just really, really bullish for Tesla.
Yeah. I know it sounds weird giving strangers a ride, but it's like it was like it's I don't know. My neighborhood's not really. It wasn't that serious, you know. They were just like they just needed to go down a block. It was raining, so I was like, it's not a big deal. I know most people wouldn't do that, but it was like, I don't know. It was
Dude,
like,
I'm Canadian and I would never do that.
really? But, like if someone said, "Hey, I need to go down a block. It's raining. You mind?" Because I was walking in my car. They're like, "You mind just giving us a ride?" You wouldn't say yes?
Be careful. I've almost
especially
been
not.
murdered. It's a story for a
Almost
different
got
time.
murdered?
Literally, yeah, almost in Memphis, Tennessee. It's one of the reasons why I don't like Memphis. But I came actually very close to losing my life years and years ago because I gave somebody a ride.
Damn. Well, I guess I'm a little too nice then.
If I pulled over and I saw someone walking while it was raining, I was like, "Hey, do you want me to drive you further down this street? I'm going that way." Maybe that's fine. If someone asked me to get in my car, 100% not. It'd have to be my idea.
I don't know. I just assessed the vibes. I didn't think they were gonna kill me. Like I could have been wrong, obviously, but thankfully I was right. So, but yeah, it's a fair point. It definitely can be a bit more dangerous. Okay, last question. I think this is the easy one, but Nvidia versus Google. All three of us. What are we taking right now?
3, 2, 1. Nvidia. Oh, I should have
Jensen.
said Google. Actually, that would have been funnier.
Yeah, Nvidia for you too, Amit.
I'm thinking Palantir, dude.
That's right.
Dude. Bank of America 150. She upgraded it. Like,
Wait, you think going forward, Palantir, like over the next, let's say, 24 months, the Palantir will do better than Nvidia?
I don't know, but the next 24 years, I'm taking Palantir over Nvidia.
Yeah.
That's
24
That's
years,
fair.
I do the same.
24
Sure.
months. I don't know.
I probably over the next 24 years would also take Palantir.
Really?
24 years? Yeah, I think that the software layer does better than the hardware layer.
Why don't you just buy some shares, Tanner? Just buy 100 shares.
Because the company is Tanner thought. What is this guy?
Dude, thank you for the 50, but I need to give this to Tanner and Roy though, because
Through stablecoin.
Yeah, but keep in mind, that was my comment. That was mine. You guys get $2 or whatever he send you.
next time we meet up at an event, dinner's on me. So,
Bro, okay, well, actually, fair enough. Last time he did say, and you did get dinner. So
I did get dinner.
you know what? That is fair. He did.
You're generous.
Thoughts on what?
In general. Thoughts.
Tanner, what are you thinking about every day? What is
Thoughts? Man, my real thoughts are I'm tired. I thought this was a 1-hour show.
No, dude, now that it's not Robinhood weekly, this is like 2 hours every Monday, bro. You just got to be ready for it. Like, you got to be, this has turned into a 2-hour tech podcast every Monday.
Yeah, maybe that
So-
was a question for you. Maybe he's asking you what your thoughts on Tanner are.
I'm bullish.
I'm,
Oh, and that's-
dude, I don't know about you guys, but I've been listening to Tanner's content way more than I used to. Naturally, he's grown as a creator, so he's talking about a lot more things, and it's captivating my attention. So if I see a Tanner video, click immediately. Robinhood, Coinbase, click that shit as soon as it came. I'm just like, all right, I'm listening. You got my
No
attention.
one at all watched that video. That
Well,
it-
no, so this is a good point. No one gives a fuck about Robinhood on YouTube or on social
Yeah.
media, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like I know we talk about, but like you do a SoFi video, 10,000 views. Robinhood, you could barely get like 2,000 because people just don't care about Robinhood. They care about SoFi more. But it was a great video,
crazy. I
Now-
think more people needed to look into what I was talking about, and yeah, but that's not the YouTube game. It's not about what's. It's a weird one. It's a mix between what you need to talk about and what people want to hear a little bit. It's kind of messed up.
But it also proves SoFi has a real cult community that Robinhood just doesn't have. It's like it's night and day the amount of people that care about SoFi versus Hood. So
It is crazy.
it is.
It is. More
It
people need to
shifted
put.
some. It felt like maybe it was 99-1 skewed towards SoFi. Now it's maybe like 90-10. The outperformance as a company and as a stock, frankly, is given tailwinds to Robinhood. But yeah, SoFi is still loved, and that's fine. I think it's going to do well.
Yeah.
All right, cool stuff. Thank you everybody for joining. We'll be back next Monday. I'll be live on the Market Open tomorrow. Tanner and Roy's YouTube and Twitter in the descriptions. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I will make sure to send these super chats, spend them on dinner for these two guys next game. I will make sure. Thank you, everybody. See you guys next Monday. Bye-bye.